Great.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. My name's Tom Jenkins. I'm just going to allow the participants to spool in for a little bit, and then we'll start the webinar. Okay, all right. Well, as I said, good afternoon, or at least it's good afternoon in England, and it's good morning in the United States, where my esteemed ex-president, Jennifer Tombaugh, is going to be leading the slideshow that launches this brief webinar on the Advisory Council. Over to you, Jennifer.
Good morning from the US, everyone. Again, my name is Jennifer Tombaugh. I'm so glad to be here with you today. My colleague on the Advisory Council, Marco de Rivo, will be joining us shortly. And I'm delighted that you would take the time to learn more about ETOA's Advisory Council. And we so hope that you will participate by joining us. And certainly, if the Advisory Council is not the thing for you, we'll also cover a number of different ways that you can be involved. We at ETOA, for the decades that we have thrived, we welcome and really succeed based upon the experience and the talent and the skills and the time of our members and our of all ranks. And we really so hope that you continue to be involved in our community. So thank you for that. I am going to ask my colleagues at ETOA to help me with the slides here this morning. And we will cover, let's start with the agenda about what we will go through. And don't worry, there will be plenty of time at the end to ask questions should you have any. So in terms of our agenda today, we'll talk a little bit about who ETOA is, of our who is currently on the Advisory Council, a bit about what we do, the expectations of this role. This is really important because unlike some board and advisory groups that you might be part of, that might be more titular or just an occasional participation. This is very much an active advisory council. There's a lot of expectations of involvement and participation. Again, my wonderful colleague, Marco de Rivo, who has fought traffic off to be with us this morning, will join and talk a little bit about his experience. He's currently our treasurer. Again, I'll cover off on other ways to get involved in the community. So let's review who we are on the Advisory Council, as then we'll go into the application process and deadlines, and then take some Q&A. So here is our illustrious team. We are led by Adele Youngs, who is not only the Director of Live Travel and Tours, but she is currently serving as the ETOA President of our board. And I was honored to have that position for the years through COVID, and have been, as in my role at TAUC and my predecessors at TAUC, involved in ETOA literally for decades. So delighted to represent this very esteemed and thriving organization. So in addition, on our board, we have Marco de Rivo, Helen Dambeck, Martin Sapori from Core, Marco Weigatza from Toraxis, Tom Jenkins, and Sean Taggart, that represents our board. Our advisory council continues with Petra Stuszek from Ljubljana Tourism, Ramon from Blue Boat Company, and Eduardo Santander from the European Travel Commission. And on the next page, we will see the rest of our team: Robin Stencil from Rick Steves, Jean-Philippe Monod from Expedia, Victoria Lacroix from GoCity, Chris Trelogin from Kontiki, Tristan Yard Levitt from Tourwise of London, Leroy Shepard from Maritime, Marco from Kuoni. We have lots of Marcos on our team, but we're expanding from beyond that. Paul Wagner from the Nordic Tourism Collective, and Christiane from Service Reisen in Germany. Marco Sabora is also, like Tristan, part of the Globus family of brands. He will be stepping down at the end of this year, but he's with us on this slide for now. Okay. So what do we do? This group, the names and the faces that you just saw, as well as our broader membership, as you know, is very actively involved in promoting and strengthening tourism to Europe. That obviously over the years has meant many different things. So that could be figuring out what the new policies and procedures are after COVID was allowing us, the countries, to reopen. It was now working on taxes and policy issues related to over-tourism or other issues that might be affecting Europe overall. So we have weathered many, many storms in Europe from an inbound perspective, whether that's coming in not only about domestic travel, but inbound from the United States, from China, from India, from Japan, and many, many other countries. So how do we all manage the new landscape that comes through, and how do we listen to our collective voices to make sure that we are driving our overall strategy and approach as effectively as we can? So the advisory council does advise the executive board. So when we meet, there is a board meeting and there's an advisory council meeting, and we listen on the board level very, very closely to what our members are saying. And so this really is a listening post. It's an activity post. We all need to work together to ensure that we are as strong as possible to continue to make Europe a thriving and attractive destination for inbound travelers. And then again, we act not only on behalf of our own companies, but in representing all the members. So we listen very closely at the global European marketplace, at the different events that are going on. As we have sort of different meeting events and networking events throughout the year, we're listening to what the other members say so we can bring those voices to the table. Okay. So as we move into expectations, and then I will pause and then let Marco de Rivo share a bit of his experience in serving not only on the advisory council, but on the board, who could give you that broader background coming from a very different market. I obviously represent the inbound US market, and Marco has a broader international remit. But the expectations of the advisory council are real, and ones that we enforce pretty diligently. We meet at minimum 4 times a year. We expect the advisory council members to attend. We recognize that sometimes life and other work conflicts happen, so we do manage that. But the expectations is that if you're going to serve on the advisory council, you show up. And we ask that at least 2 of those attendances be in person. Obviously, I'm in the US. The Tom and the ETOA management team is in London, as are many members. There are others across Europe and beyond. So we recognize that that can sometimes be challenging, but we do ask that, as we all have learned coming out of COVID, that it's much more effective to be meeting in person. And so we ask that that happens for at least 2 of the meetings. The meetings are usually in Brussels, where ETOA has an office, as well as London. And at least one out-of-country visit. This year, we actually have had several. So we've been in Ljubljana, we've been in Vilnius, Lithuania, and we'll be in Marseille in December, which always is a great opportunity, not only to meet, of course, in a new destination, but have a bit of a fam experience as well, and be able to bring those ideas back to our respective companies and to our membership at large. We ask that when you're signing up, is that the expectation is to serve a minimum of 2 years. Some of our advisory council members have stayed on longer, but that is a minimum. And we expect you to participate in relevant working groups. So these are, we'll talk about this in a moment. There's ways we have a QR code that you can scan to see the whole lineup of different types of working groups, but we'll touch on this a little bit more later. And then attendance at and active engagement in different ETOA events and activities. It was great to see so many people reconnect with old friends and meet new ones at the Global European Marketplace a couple of weeks ago. So it's something that I know I and the TAUC team always enjoy being part of, and certainly other events and opportunities for networking throughout the year. And then there's always ad hoc consultation. There's frequently where there's an issue that pops up where the ETOA team or one of us might reach out and say, hey, are you hearing this, or what's going on? And it just becomes a great listening or soundpost for, again, not only each other, but the industry as a whole. So it helps us advance ETOA's cause and purpose. But to perhaps get a little bit more specific, if I may, I'd love to turn it over to Marco de Rivo, who could share a little bit about his experiences and thoughts about the Advisory Council.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's a very good introduction of what being part of the Advisory Council is all about. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are. So I've been asked to tell you a little bit about my experience of being on the Advisory Council, and I can only say that it's been great so far. I've been on it for 3 years. I've been asked to join the board a couple of years ago, and I cannot speak enough highly of how rewarding and engaging it is. So I want to summarize it in 4 key points, trying to make it not too boring. But what does it mean to be on the advisory council? First of all, it's the opportunity to connect with peers of the industry that otherwise you might not be able to engage with, and that obviously open a big pond of knowledge and experience that otherwise you will not be able to reach unless you have this opportunity. I thought that for me was possibly the most rewarding part of being part of the advisory council from a personal point of view. The other reason is that it does allow us to exchange within these peers of the industry what are the challenges we are facing. And more often than not, they are always the same when it comes to operating, especially long haul, but short haul as well, or any kind of hospitality business you are in, operating within Europe, from ticketing to access to shortage of resources across the continent. There is always something interesting to know, anticipate. We have a very active WhatsApp group where we exchange information before it's even made public by the media or within the industry. It does allow as well to have a platform where you can speak out. And what I mean by speak is that you can speak to the authorities, because one of the great strengths of the ETOA team is that they have political and commercial connection across the whole continent, which allow us to speak to all level within the community, and explain to councils, government, industry, ministers why we are having trouble, or what are the trouble for us to bring tourists to their country, that at the end of the day should be in their own interest, considering that the tourist industry in most countries at least 10% of their income. So they need to listen to us, and ETOA give us that opportunity to speak as one, because that's what's important. If you go and speak on your own, nobody listens to you. But if you speak as a one voice, you're going to be heard, and definitely we have these opportunity. And then maybe maybe the bit more frivolous but very important, we're having fun. It's about as well enjoy being part of the industry. At the end of the day, hospitality is all about bringing joy to our customers, so we try to do that ourselves. So that's why it's so important to meet in person. Going on a trip is fantastic. We've been through some incredible experience in many different cities. Jennifer has named a few, and we hope for more to come. A lot of destinations are keen to have us, especially because they want us to bring business there. So what is best than an opportunity to go somewhere, have fun, enjoy, speak about business, of course, but try as well to remember what we're there for, which is to have some fun, and to make sure that our customer leave a country with a wonderful experience. So I think that that while obviously meeting in person is intense, because it includes travel, it's 3 days, a lot of meetings. It is intense, but it's very, very rewarding. So that's really my experience. I don't think I can add much more than that, apart that I met a lot of wonderful people.
Great.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Marco. That was terrific. And it's true. We have an incredibly active WhatsApp group that shares all kinds of policy or are you hearing information, just sort of validation. But it is a wonderful group. And some of my dearest friends in the industry have been made through my service at ETOA. So I'm really grateful for that. And Marco, thank you for joining and taking the time.
Thank you.
So as we think about those opportunities, I do want to touch on other ways that you or other members of your teams or your associates get involved in ETOA. So on the next page there, we can speak a little bit more as if we can toggle forward about how we can get involved in the community. So I mentioned that little QR code before, and you can scan that as I sort of just touch on these different elements. Which is our strategic working groups, our destination focused. So that might be a policy related issue. They sometimes involve, for example, German VAT tax was I think we still have a standing meeting on that where we review the latest in tax networking. That's you might argue is more destination focused, but typically the destination focused working groups tend to be operational. As we know that there's different destinations around Europe that have become a bit more challenging and perhaps less welcoming to inbound tourism or tourism in general. And so how can we partner better with the local authorities to make sure that we have a mutual and common understanding of how travel can be a force for good in their communities? So those are areas that those working groups focus on. Origin market interest groups. So when we look at very specific needs for certain markets like inbound from Japan or China or India, how are those travelers' needs different than the historic US inbound market, and how might different members need to modify approaches or reach out to those audiences to make sure we have a welcoming and a receptive audience for them when they do come. There's speaking opportunities all the time on all kinds of different topics and panels. We have those quite frequently, not only as a webinar like this, but at conferences. There's an incredibly valuable area on the ETOA site called the Insight Hub, where the ETOA team does a fantastic job keeping that area fresh and active with pertinent and relevant information. So there's opportunity to participate and contribute to that. We have, for those that are all advancing their sustainability issues about making sure that that travel is communicating and contributing positively to the local economies and communities. We have a sustainability group that again exchanges best practices and ideas. There's an operations LinkedIn group. That's also where information is shared and communicated. And then we have an opportunity with videos and testimonials that we're often doing to generate membership. At the end of the day, we are a thriving membership association and only stand on the strength of all of those who are part of our community. And so it's important that we share and put real names and faces to of those four letters and make sure that people understand the connections and the opportunities and the valuable networking that comes from all of that. So many different ways to get involved, again, not only from an advisory council, but overall. So finally, let's talk about how this all works. And we'll go through some of the upcoming dates and process as we figure out, again, just tying off those other sponsorship and advisory council opportunities. So with the advisory council, we're looking for 2 to 3 new members. We like to keep one of the things that I was working on very strongly in my tenure as president, which again, unfortunately coincided with COVID, so we didn't make as much progress as we would have liked, but Adele's leadership and the rest of the team are advancing, is having more diversity in our overall advisory council. So we took a look at where there might be some specific gaps. We would love, given the evolution and rapidly changing that for rail and coach transport, to have a AC member from that sector of our industry. We're looking always for destination management operators or tourism boards to also participate because of the unique experiences and perspectives you have from a receptive side. And of course, hotel members. We can only grow and continue to bring travelers to Europe with a breadth of hotel partners, and having those to match to the group needs is always something that we're looking for at our different conferences. And of course, the hotel landscape is evolving very, very quickly with substitute products and new and growth in brands, et cetera. And so having that perspective is always incredibly valuable and insightful. And so we again, primarily looking for folks in these areas. We also would encourage anyone interested to reach out to an advisory council member. If we know you, it makes it a lot easier to evaluate the opportunities and the overall application that you have. And even if you haven't reached out to an advisory council member before, feel free to reach out to me, to Marco, to anyone on the advisory council and share your interest. So as we get together for our nominating committee, we have a chance to have some firsthand input about who these folks are on paper. And so finally, in terms of timing, the deadline for the application, and again, you'll see this on the website, etoa.org, the very easily found advisory council application link should be completed by December 5th, please. That will give us time in the tricky holiday season, but then in January in the new year to review with our nominating committee and the board. That will give us adequate time to do those meetings so that we can let the candidates know and notify all participants or applicants rather by February. We have a general assembly that occurs end of February, early March annually. And so it is expected that we will be announcing to the broader membership at that time. So that's what's driving a lot of the timing here. So with that, I think that concludes the prepared remarks. And Marco and I would be delighted to take any questions that you might have. So I think those would they go into chat, I believe. So feel free to add them to chat if you wish. You don't want me? Okay. There's a question about, are DMC applications not considered? Oh, no, they will be considered, certainly. Absolutely. And we welcome DMC applications for sure. Again,
there is a preference.
Go ahead, Marco, sorry.
Yeah, I was just confirming there is a preference for those 3 areas that we have highlighted, but is not limited to that. We will consider any strong applicant.
Thank you for asking the question. We don't want anyone to get discouraged, that's for sure. Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'll give everyone just another minute while I sort of prattle on here, but to simply say, if you do have questions following this, you can certainly reach out to me, to ETOA, to Marco. We are happy to entertain those. I think, given how many people can find my email online, I think it's pretty widely available, but it's I get messages from people all the time that I didn't know had my email, but it's Tombaugh, first initial, last name at tauck.com, and I'd be happy to answer any queries. And but again, you can reach out to ETOA directly, and those will be routed to Marco or me for a response.
Same here, or they can reach through LinkedIn as well. That's where very visible.
That's a good idea. LinkedIn.
Any chat from LinkedIn, we will try and reply and connect with you. Last time we did this exercise, I had a couple of persons that asked me to have a personal chat with them, and I was more than happy to connect. And I think it's probably the easiest way, and it's a bit less daunting than doing it publicly online like we are today. If you want to have more of a private conversation. Yeah. We're always going to be available for that.
Jennifer, if I may, can I just say a couple of words? So I've been uncharacteristically silent for the last 25 minutes. I think anybody in the school will appreciate how invaluable having such senior and effective people involved in the association as Jennifer and Mark, and I'm really very grateful that you've taken the time to amplify what the AC does. for the last 25 years, I've been indebted to all the people who contributed at what was originally a steering committee and then became an advisory council. The only thing I'd just like to stress is that, as Jennifer has amply indicated, it's really important to have people there who are offering more than their opinion. What matters is what they actively contribute towards the association. And you can see these people have given up half an hour to an hour of their time, but concretely helping us drive forward is one of the great assets that we have in the AC, and I just want to see that continue. Other than that, I welcome all applications. So I'll maybe say this. Okay, over to you, Jennifer.
Great.
Can I say I totally agree
Please.
with Tom. It's not just make a presence. We are all there together to amplify the voice of ETOA to be heard. Because when I said earlier that it gives us a platform to be heard by the local authority and communities, that can only be heard if it's amplified by all the people that are part of this conversation. So just turning up is not enough. You need to actively participate to the activities. Otherwise, you will do a disservice to yourself, to your organization, and to the advisory council. Thank you. Sorry, Jennifer.
No, absolutely.
Just one minor point. You are there to represent the interests of the members, and consequently, it really is quite important to be a member before applying for the advisory council. This is one of the sine qua non of qualification.
Yes, sorry, that would be, I should have been more explicit about that. That is a requirement that you need to be a member to actually be served on the advisory council. So, all right, well, I don't think we've received any more questions in the chat, so we'll wind down this today. I know this will be posted online, and again, I think Marco has a brilliant idea that if anyone has questions, feel free to reach out to either of us or anyone on the advisory council through LinkedIn, or grab one of us directly, or feel free to contact ETOA as well, and they'll make sure it gets channeled to us. So again, Tom and Marco and everyone behind the scenes at ETOA, thank you for making today happen. And for all of you who did join today with your questions and interest, I hope this was helpful, and we hope that you'll apply. So with that, have a wonderful week ahead and stay warm.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.